How's this for an idea? You take a perfectly good car, and a brand new one at that, and then you send it down this chute at 64 kilometers an hour, straight into a wall. It sounds crazy, but that's exactly what the Australasian New Car Assessment Program, or ANCAP, does each and every single week. Question is, why? ANCAP has undertaken some 600 crash tests here in Australia since 1993, using the results to lobby governments and automotive stakeholders for safer, smarter vehicles on the road. The independent outfit has just received a 5-year funding extension from the federal government to continue crash testing new vehicles.
We work with Euro ANCAP to try and make sure there's no doubling up of tests. But when you think about the dual cab utes that we like in Australia, we like cars from Japan, cars from South Korea, they're not sold in the same sort of popularity as the vehicles in Europe. So we work together that we will test those vehicles that are volume sellers, popular sellers in Australia. But we try not to do any doubling up. But if we do test the same vehicle that Europe may have tested, what you'll actually find when you dig down is it's probably not exactly the same vehicle. So a brand may market it with the same name, but it may have different engine sizes, it might have a different restraint system. So when you look at it, it may not actually be exactly the same vehicle. So that's when ANCAP would test the vehicle, even if Euro ANCAP has done it as well.
ANCAP's role is expanding into autonomous technology, and as such will soon include testing of automated emergency braking and other new systems from later this year.
We're really testing at level 2 automation, so speed sign recognition, autonomous emergency braking, lane support systems. Not only is it good enough to have that technology in a vehicle, but we are actually testing its performance and how effective it is.
Now, if you've ever pondered the actual process of crash testing a car, well, the good news is that today we're going to witness it firsthand. Behind me, a brand new ZB Holden Commodore that's about to be sent head first into a wall. General Motors has already crash tested this car in Europe as an Opel Insignia, but that car was diesel. This car is V6 and all-wheel drive. That makes today's exercise a crash audit. ANCAP went out and purchased the vehicle from a dealer and is funding the entire crash exercise. As the replacement to the locally built VF Commodore, the ZB needs to do well. Okay, so the guys have just finished the final preparations. Lights are about to go on, and then the Commodore will be sent down that chute at 64 k's an hour. This is going to be interesting. There's one wrecked ZB Commodore. What's your initial impression from the crash test?
Well, what we're looking at here is we can see that it struck the barrier as it should have done. We can see that, in a modern car, crumple is good because what that means is the energy absorption hasn't gone through to the occupants of the vehicle. So the engine is now assisting. The engine is actually a safety element of the car these days. We've seen that wheel doesn't appear to have moved too far into the footwell, which is a good sign. The A pillar looks reasonably intact here. We have seen some opening here, and the engineers will do an assessment soon on how difficult it is to open that door. The B pillar looks reasonably straight, and that's a good sign. The airbags have all deployed. We've got some glass shattering here. That's not necessarily going to make an impact on the assessment that we make, but what we will be looking at are the dummy readings, and that's what we can't see at the moment.
Now, as obvious as it may sound, watching a car go down the chute into a wall at 64 k's an hour is an extremely overwhelming experience, irrespective of whether you're expecting it or not. But today has shown how relevant ANCAP is to real-world crash testing. The result from this test will be shown in the coming weeks, so I'll be interested to see whether the ANCAP audit matches General Motors' claimed figures.